We haven't talked about Brandon Aiyuk in a while because the trade seemed dead once the 49ers gave him that huge extension before the start of 2024 season. However, over the last couple of weeks, really since the combine, the Aiyuk trade rumors have started to gain a little bit of steam. And an NFL reporter who's unaffiliated, John Frascella, he put out this tweet just 2, 3 weeks ago saying, I'm being told the Cleveland Browns have been poking around inquiring about the asking price for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I remember seeing this shortly after March 10th and thinking, all right, I've got one guy on Twitter saying something, but right now no one else is supporting this at all, so we'll just kind of keep it moving here and pass it off as a one-off. But fast forward to the 23rd, and the guy is doubling down on this. The Cleveland Browns have been pounding the 49ers in the past week or so, trying to find a deal that works for Brandon Aiyuk. Looks like they want a wide receiver one for Shedeur. Now, when I saw this, I sent it to our 49ers guy, Chase Sr. I was like, do you think there's any kind of shreds of truth to this at all? And he's like, well, John was the guy who kind of first, I wouldn't say leaked, but was the first one to report that Aiyuk requested a trade. This goes back to April of last year when he said breaking Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the 49ers. He would go on to kind of explain a little bit and elaborate to it. And remember, back in April of last year, that was before it was really public knowledge that the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk were engaging in trade conversations and the possibility of moving their ascending wide receiver. In fact, when he put this out there, it was not received well by Niners fans, by Brandon Aiyuk's agent of all people. Aiyuk's agent quote tweeted this and said, "You need better sources." John got community notes on a trade request that ended up being, I think, true. I mean, Aiyuk did eventually request a trade. Now, who knows in April if there was any actual truth to that or if he just kind of got lucky and said he's going to request a trade, and then it happened a few months later, but it was never true at the time when he said that in April. It just ended up becoming true later down the road. So I'm willing to go down this rabbit hole a little bit and have a slight Alice in Wonderland moment of the possibility of the Browns trading for Brandon Aiyuk, since we know they were interested in him last offseason. There were rumors that they offered Amari Cooper and some picks for Aiyuk. Ultimately, I think Aiyuk decided, I don't really want to leave the Niners. I just wanted to get more money. And he got a lot of money. He signed a 4-year, $120 million extension with the Niners before the season kicked off. Now, in that $120 million extension was a lot of guaranteed money, of course. A ton of that guaranteed money, over half of it actually, was paid out at the time of the signing. So if you really do want to trade for Aiyuk, I urge you not to look at that $120 million and think, I don't want to take on $120 million. Well, you're not really taking on $120 million. You're taking on the remaining guaranteed cash that has not been paid out, which is around $35-ish million. The Niners, I think, have some motivation to get a trade done and soon because, as his contract notes, on April 1st, a week away from now, there's going to be a ton of money that comes on the books for roster options and guaranteed cash for 2026. So I could see why San Francisco would have a sense of urgency that if they want to get a trade done at all, let's get it done sooner rather than later before we're put on the hook for more guaranteed money for Aiyuk. But why would they at all want to trade him? And that's the question that I really struggle with answering. They just gave him a contract extension. They could be having some regret over that. They may not feel like Aiyuk was worth that investment, but they're coming off a Super Bowl appearance and they didn't want to lose a core member of their offense. So they felt the pressure to get something done and they made a contract offer that they regret. Plus, the knee injury maybe helps push them over the edge if they're 50-50 on whether or not they really want to keep Aiyuk. But put the Niners thinking to the side for a moment. Should the Browns be interested in him? There's two major hurdles here, right? He is expensive. Like, sure, it's not $120 million in guaranteed cash owed to him, but $35 million, give or take a few million, isn't nothing. That's still a good chunk of change that you're on the hook for a player that's coming off a torn ACL and MCL and probably won't be ready for the start of 2025 as a result of those injuries. Now, we're going to go a second and go a little bit deeper in just a moment here on this topic. But first things first, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Tushy. Tushy is a proud sponsor of the Cleveland Browns Report. And Tushy is a resolution that isn't a pain in the dairy air. You see, the Tushy bidet fits on your toilet in under 10 minutes, improving your health and saving you time/money every time you visit the Oval Office. The Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilets without the need for additional plumbing or electricity. People who have made the switch to Tushy use up to 80% less toilet paper. No more clogged toilets. You can save your money and your ass at the same time. Now, take it from someone who lived in Japan for 5 years and saw what a game changer a hands-free toilet experience is. Installation is simple and takes about 10 minutes to complete. Literally anyone can do it. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty. Instantly improve your health from the bottom up. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code CHAT. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Now, what would it cost to get a trade done? The Niners seem to have some level of motivation to get a deal done from a financial standpoint. Plus, if they just don't feel like he is a fabric of their locker room and they want to get a draft pick for him now, since they kind of appear to be heading towards a slight retool with the way they behaved in free agency, I could see an early third-round pick getting it done. This would be a big slap in the face for San Francisco. They gave him a boatload of cash for just basically 1 year of work. They passed a bunch of trade offers from the Browns and the Steelers last year that were way more than a third, but he's got that cash now, like that contract that another team would be taking on. And most importantly, in my opinion, he's coming off a major knee injury. A third is maybe the best you're going to get for him, since everyone knows that you're open to trading for him and teams don't have to pry him away from you. Like when I listened to John Lynch speak at the Combine, that did not sound like a GM who is going to shut the door on trade conversations. Andrew Berry at the Combine sounded like a GM who was going to shut the door on your foot and your fingers if you wanted to trade for Myles Garrett. Lynch and the Niners did not get the same sense. So let me cook for a second. What if you trade a third-round draft pick, which you have two of, your early third, for Brandon Aiyuk, and then you trade back from number 2 to number 3 with the New York Giants so they can secure Shedeur Sanders and they don't have to be paranoid about the other New York team or the Raiders potentially jumping up all the way to 2, and they bring in Joe Shane and Brian Dable, save the marriage baby to keep their jobs for another season and land a rookie quarterback, and all it cost them for that peace of mind is a third-round draft pick, which is the first pick in round number 3. So the Browns walk away from this with the same player like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, whoever they prefer, at number 3, since Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders go 1 and 2. They actually move up in round number 3 a few spots, and Brandon Aiyuk is on the Browns roster. You get the same player you want at 2, at 3, and Brandon Aiyuk, and you get a better third-round draft pick. Who says no? I'm open to a slight trade back. I think I've been very public since the order came out that I thought the Browns would want to have interest in moving back. Right now, it doesn't seem like anyone has interest in moving up. It's just not that loaded of a quarterback class where teams feel the urgency to get into a little bit of a frenzy to trade up. But if you look at the draft order, just take the top 8, because I don't expect anyone from 9 beyond to jump all the way to 2. There's just not a player or quarterback worth, that type of movement in this draft class. I could see the Giants going, we don't want the Raiders or Jets to jump us. It's the same thing the Bears did a few years ago for Mitch Trubisky. They went from 3 to 2, gave up a third-round draft pick, and in their eyes had the peace of mind of, we got our guy. Now, Trubisky did not end up being their guy, but I don't fault the process of, we don't want to mess around. If you think he is your guy, quarterback is too valuable to sit back and just go, let's hope he comes to us. No, you make sure you secure your quarterback of the future if you feel that strongly about that player. So the Giants, they have no head coach and GM has more pressure on their seat than Brian Dable and Joe Shane entering the season. You might think that way for Stefanski or Barry. I promise you that it goes to Brian Dable and Joe Shane. Now, we're going to put a graphic up in a moment here. I'm not going to try and sell it as like a who stops this offense. But I think this is an offense that Browns fans could really warm up to leading up to the season. And there's all some level of realism here. You land Russell Wilson, who you have been courting in free agency. You take Caleb Johnson in round number 2, my second favorite running back in this draft class. And I think there are shades of Nick Chubb and David Montgomery in Johnson's game. You've got Jerry Jeudy, the 5th leading receiver from a year ago. You add Brandon Aiyuk, who was terrific in 2022 and 2023. And you still got the Chief, one of the best leaders on this team. Tell me that's not an offense that you can at least go, all right, I'll turn the TV on for this team now. I don't think many Browns fans felt that way a few weeks ago. Again, it's not one of those, who stops this offense? A lot of teams can stop that offense. It's not one of the best offenses in NFL history. But it's an improvement. Is it not? And if you don't like Russ, which he's not my preferred quarterback, but also, I've said a million times, this is a bad offseason to need a quarterback. Beggars can't be choosers. You could swap that out with Kirk Cousins, trade for him. I just went for a quarterback that I know the Browns have legitimate interest in, that they brought in for a visit. So, do you like it? Yes or no? Right now, I feel like I just did a whole home improvement project, and I'm wondering if the family, this is like the extreme home makeover. The family just came back from Disney, and it's like, move that bus. Do you like what we did here? So let me know. Is that an offense that you can go, all right, it's not the best. It's not going to be something that takes down Mahomes or Allen or probably even Lamar, but it's better than what we had last year. So to round out the whole video, do you want to trade for Brandon Aiyuk? I'm not someone that is at the front of the Brandon Aiyuk trade parade, but I'm definitely not leading the opposition for the right price. If you could tell me, hey, 3rd-round draft pick gets you Aiyuk, yeah, I'd do it. I would. I would roll the dice on him bouncing back from the big knee injury for the price of a 3rd-round pick in a draft class that's not very deep. And if you're like, no, I don't want to give up a 3rd-round pick, okay. Enjoy David Bell. Enjoy Siaka Ika. Enjoy Cedric Tillman. Those are some recent 3rd-round draft picks. Sorry about the crackling. Do you want those guys over Brandon Aiyuk? I'd take a chance in Aiyuk for knowing the Browns' track record in round number 3. Let's pick a card to wrap up today's episode. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Reed?
Let's go with Jack of Hearts.
I'm going to go with 5 of Clubs. Ten of Spades. All right, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I will see everyone later.